Good morning, everybody. All right, let's get to brass tacks here. First, let's pour ourselves a cup of tea. Decaf. Don't worry, I'm taking care of my heart. I'm not taking a lot of caffeine. Got a little stevia in it. All right. So, UAP report released. People are starting to react to it. People are starting to talk about it, think about it. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are just angered or threatened by the fact that this is now working its way back into the mainstream. They're going to call it pseudoscience, whatever. I mean, this is here. This is our time to talk about it. So, what should we do? What should we do? The first thing we need to do, the very first thing we need to do, is come up with a contact protocol, an SOP, a standard operating procedure for the military. It appears right now that the Navy is freely sharing much more information about their interactions with these things than the Air Force. We have a Space Force. It's brand spanking new. It's basically a bunch of old Air Force units that were probably charged with anti-missile defense. Um, even though they say they have a stated mission, to be honest with you, the mission is unclear. The Space Force was more about Donald Trump's vanity than an actual need, because Donald Trump said he didn't believe in UFOs. He was a skeptic about that, and Barack Obama actually said more about UFOs in a recent interview than Donald Trump has. But who knows? I mean, it may be that all presidents have higher clearance than you and me. They may know more about it. They may not. The United States military and intelligence services are compartmentalized, and there are elements that actually have contradictory goals. They may have adversarial relationships with each other. Fact of life. Fact of life. I mean, if you've ever worked in an office, there's people within an office or departments within an office that are at odds with other people in other departments. Fact of life. But a contact protocol is what we need. So let's think about it for a second. We should develop a way to respond uniformly to these UAPs. All right. And we may already have one, but I think the public needs to know. The public needs to be involved. Scientists need to be involved in this. If we're operating on the assumption that these are not biological creatures, I mean, can you imagine a biological creature that can travel at hypersound and then hover, then go back in the water and go back out? It doesn't appear to be something a biological creature can do. Not any creature we know about. Now, if there are inanimate three-dimensional objects that can do this, again, all of our physics knowledge is then folklore. It's fiction. We need to go back to square one. Um, Even Newton, we need to like throw Newton out and start all over again, um, which we can't right now. And some of these objects appear to be responding to our aircraft, responding to efforts to intercept them, and some of them appear to be collision hazards, which means that they're interacting with our aircraft. So I'm going to assume a few things. I'm going to assume that the tracking technology that we have in the military, it probably exceeds the capacities of what's known publicly, right? I'm going to assume that there are targeting systems that are not just based on radar, but laser designator system. I think we had that in the 60s, and it can only be more sophisticated now. I propose that whether it's on an aircraft carrier, a destroyer, an aircraft deployed from an aircraft carrier, a radar array, a coastal radar array, a land-based radar array on an Air Force base, radar on any kind of attack aircraft, even a C-130. I propose that any unit that appears to be encountering this phenomena on a regular basis be provided with contact equipment. It doesn't have to be, a huge thing. It doesn't have to be a large number of them, but there needs to be something there that whenever one of these objects come by, we flash a set short radio message to it and pulsed lights using, uh, you know, maybe Morse code or just numerical flashes, an infrared pulse, perhaps a laser pulse. And what we do is we transmit a series of prime numbers. Just look up a prime number. If you're not up on your mathematics, I believe it's a number that's divisible only by one in itself. Sequences of prime numbers are not supposed to occur in nature. Long sequences, progressive sequences. For instance, a sequence that would go up and then down in value of only primes, that would never exist in nature, right? Um, so, if every time UAPs come near one of our assets, they start getting radio flashes that transmit numbers, one flash is one, two flashes is two, 16 flashes is 16. No flash is nothing. It's a negative value. But I don't know if there's a reliable way to transmit a zero, right? I'm not a mathematician and I'm not a code person, but this is just sort of an intellectual concept. Simultaneously, along with this radio burst, would be visual flashes of just regular light, could be like an LED light, and co occurring simultaneously, coaxially, would be a laser beam pulsing, would have to be, kind of low intensity. We don't want to appear to be hostile. And then an infrared light. Could be an infrared LED type light, or maybe even an infrared laser if we have that technology. But if and if every time a UAP flashes around, we start tracking it for a few seconds, possibly continuously, and every single time UAPs encounter that mathematical progressing up and possibly progressing down prime numbered sequence. Well, mathematics is independent of culture. The fact that two is more than one and three is more than two. That's that's something any intelligence and any consciousness could figure out. And I would be hoping that it would provoke some type, not provoke, hopefully not provoke, but engender some type of communicative response. Maybe they just flash a series of primes back. And the minute that happens, we're now communicating with these things. Because I'll tell you why we need to communicate with these things. They're capable. If this is an intelligently directed form of technology or an automated form of technology, it exceeds our power capacities, our flight capacities, our maneuverability capacities. It can penetrate any defense we have, and any propulsion system is automatically a weapon. Look at 9/11. An airplane designed for peaceful purposes to transport people from point A to point B crashing into a building becomes a cruise missile. Okay? Any form of, and the propulsion, some of these objects don't appear to be an aerodynamic. The propulsion, kinetic energy generated, is going to require a form of energy generation. I assume there's a way to power these things. Do they just, I don't assume that they're able to do these things without using some form of energy to power it. I assume it's not magic, right? Although any sufficiently advanced technology is unmistakable, it's almost indistinguishable from a form of magic, right? But we need to communicate with them because if these things are three-dimensional objects intelligently directed, whether by a living intelligence or an artificial intelligence, this means that a huge chunk of our military assets are absolutely helpless. that they pose a threat to us indirectly, even if they have no intention to harm us, right? In other words, if I'm in a very fast car and I never, ever, ever want to hurt another human being, but I get behind that wheel and don't know how to drive or don't see you, I may hit you, even though I would abhor the thought of hurting you, right? Even the most peaceful person in the world in possession of a large propulsion system, any large machine really could cause an accident. At the very least, we need to establish that they are able and willing to talk to us. And that should be our first step with our military. Just, hey, I'm here, you're there, don't crash into me. You have a lot of velocity that I don't. I don't know who you are. This is me. Who are you? I think it's the least we could do. I really do. And I think this is something that we as lay people can start talking to our representatives about, or maybe we could run for office. It's the kind of thing that would make me run for office. Honestly, this is the kind of thing. If I, thought I had a chance, if I had a funder, if I had a backer, I'd probably run for office tomorrow. I'd run for city councilor or whatever, just on the extraterrestrial platform. Um, as crazy as that would sound, because apparently something exists that is mightier than all of the militaries of Earth together, at least in potential, and appears not to want to harm us because of its capacities. It could harm us at any given time. It may not think we're that important. I don't know. But I want to know what this is, and I want them talking to us. Y'all have a good day.